In the 1950s, rural grandmothers across the American heartland slept 9 uninterrupted hours every single night without a single sleeping pill, without a prescription pad, and without ever stepping foot inside a sleep clinic. They did not battle the ceiling at 2 a.m. with racing thoughts and restless legs. They did not wake up at 4 in the morning feeling more exhausted than when they closed their eyes. Their secret was not silence or darkness or some expensive white noise machine. It was a humble kitchen ritual costing less than a quarter that they performed every single night before bed, completely unaware that modern neuroscience would one day confirm exactly why it worked so powerfully on the aging brain. Today, researchers at institutions like Harvard Medical School and the National Institute on Aging have finally begun mapping the exact biological mechanisms that made this forgotten bedtime practice so devastatingly effective for older adults. What they found completely challenges everything the billion-dollar sleep supplement industry wants you to believe about melatonin. Because melatonin does not fix your broken sleep architecture, it only nudges your body clock by a few minutes. But what these grandmothers were unknowingly consuming every night was directly rebuilding the deep, slow-wave sleep stages that your aging brain is quietly starving for. And the entire ritual costs about 25 cents. Before we begin, tell us in the comments how many hours of truly restful sleep you are actually getting right now. Are you waking up exhausted no matter how early you go to bed? We are reading every single comment and personally responding with specific tips for your exact situation. Now let us go back to the kitchen and fix your nights. Starting with number 4. Number 4, the nerve calmer, Tart cherry juice concentrate. Before pharmaceutical companies invented synthetic sleep aids, folk healers and home remedy books across rural America consistently pointed to one specific fruit as the natural answer for restless nights in older adults. Grandmothers kept small dark bottles of this tart liquid in their pantry medicine cabinet, right alongside their herbal tinctures and their apple cider vinegar. It was simply considered common sense that certain foods belonged in the evening and not the morning. Modern sleep neuroscience now tells us these women were unknowingly loading their aging brains with one of the only natural whole food sources of melatonin on the planet. But here is the critical distinction that most people completely miss. After the age of 60, your pineal gland, which is the tiny structure buried deep in your brain responsible for producing melatonin, begins quietly shrinking. Researchers at the University of Texas Health Science Center have confirmed through direct tissue analysis that the pineal gland loses a significant portion of its functional cells with every passing decade after midlife. This is not a lifestyle problem. It is a structural biological decline happening inside your skull right now. Your brain is physically producing less of the hormone that signals nighttime to every cell in your body. This is why the darkness no longer makes you automatically sleepy the way it did in your 30s. Tart cherries contain naturally occurring melatonin molecules that your gut absorbs without requiring your shrinking pineal gland to manufacture anything at all. You are bypassing the broken factory and delivering the finished product directly. But the more important compound is actually the anthocyanins, the dark red pigments that give tart cherries their distinctive color. Researchers at Louisiana State University conducted a clinical trial specifically in older adults with chronic insomnia and demonstrated that drinking tart cherry juice twice daily increased total sleep time by an average of 84 minutes per night. These participants also reported significantly improved sleep efficiency, which is the percentage of time in bed actually spent asleep rather than lying awake, frustrated. Purchase a bottle of pure tart cherry juice concentrate from any grocery store. Mix 2 tablespoons into 4 ounces of cold water every evening, approximately 1 hour before you intend to sleep. Do not use sweetened cherry juice cocktail blends because the added sugar will spike your insulin at the worst possible hour and shatter your ability to enter deep sleep. The concentrate form keeps your serving size small and your cost around 20 cents per night. You will notice a gentle wave of physical relaxation beginning in your shoulders and jaw within 45 minutes of drinking this mixture. But stay with us because number 3 directly targets the internal noise that is destroying your ability to fall asleep in the first place. Number 3. The cortisol crusher, magnesium glycinate powder. Before bedtime supplements became a crowded marketplace of gimmicks working, class families across mid-century America kept a simple white powder in the kitchen cupboard for what they called nervous exhaustion. Mothers dissolved a small spoonful into warm water for children who could not settle, and for fathers who came home from the factory too wound up to sleep. They had no concept of cortisol or the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. They simply knew that this chalky mineral preparation reliably quieted the body within the hour. Here is what they could not have known. After 60, your cortisol rhythm fundamentally breaks down in a way that directly attacks your sleep architecture from the inside. In a healthy young adult, cortisol follows a precise daily curve. It peaks sharply in the early morning to pull you out of bed, and then drops steadily throughout the day until it reaches its lowest point around midnight, creating a hormonal valley deep enough for your brain to safely enter slow-wave sleep. In older adults, this curve flattens dramatically. Your nighttime cortisol floor rises. Your brain interprets this elevated chemical signal as a persistent, low-grade threat and physiologically refuses to allow the full neurological shutdown that deep sleep requires. This is why you feel simultaneously exhausted and unable to fully relax into unconsciousness. Magnesium is the biological key that directly suppresses this nighttime cortisol elevation through its action on the GABA receptor system in your brain. GABA is your nervous system's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, meaning it is the chemical that tells your billions of neurons to stop firing and be quiet. Magnesium powerfully enhances GABA receptor sensitivity, which effectively turns down the neurological volume across your entire brain. Studies published in the Journal of Research in Medical Sciences demonstrated that magnesium supplementation in older adults significantly improved sleep efficiency, sleep time, early morning awakening frequency, and insomnia severity scores compared to placebo. The researchers also measured objective drops in serum cortisol and increases in serum melatonin in the magnesium group. Over 68% of adults over the age of 60 fail to meet even the basic dietary requirement for this mineral, according to data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. This is not because they are eating poorly, it is because the aging gut progressively loses its ability to absorb magnesium from food, and the aging kidneys simultaneously become less efficient at retaining it. Purchase pure magnesium glycinate powder, not magnesium oxide, which is the cheap pharmacy version that absorbs poorly and causes digestive distress. Stir 1 level scoop, providing roughly 200 milligrams of elemental magnesium, into a warm cup of chamomile tea approximately 45 minutes before bed. The glycine molecule attached to the magnesium carries its own independent sleep-promoting properties by lowering your core body temperature, which is one of the most powerful biological triggers for initiating deep sleep onset. Within 1 week, you will notice that the mental chatter that normally keeps you staring at the ceiling has become significantly quieter. But number 2 addresses a problem that is completely invisible and that your doctor has almost certainly never tested you for. Number 2, the sleep architecture rebuilder, glycine powder. 19th century physicians across both European and American medical traditions regularly prescribed a protein-derived powder to patients suffering from what they called neurasthenia, a now-forgotten diagnosis describing the profound physical and mental exhaustion that follows months of disrupted sleep. Long before pharmaceutical sleep aids existed, this white crystalline amino acid was compounded in apothecary shops and dispensed as a legitimate medical intervention for sleep and nerve restoration. It fell out of common use when synthetic sleeping pills became profitable. Today, Japanese researchers have quietly rediscovered exactly why it worked, and the mechanism is more remarkable than anyone suspected. Here is the problem: most sleep-deprived seniors do not know they have. There are fundamentally different stages inside what we call sleep. The stage that actually restores your brain, consolidates your memory, clears the toxic protein waste that accumulates during wakefulness, and repairs your muscles and immune system is called slow-wave sleep, or deep sleep. A 25-year-old spends roughly 20% of their night in this profoundly restorative stage. By the time you reach 70, this drops to less than 5%. You are spending more hours in bed than ever before, but the hours are hollow. You are cycling through light sleep almost exclusively, which is why you wake exhausted despite 8 hours of lying down. Melatonin does not fix this. Melatonin only helps you fall asleep faster. It does nothing to increase the proportion of slow-wave, deep sleep you actually experience. Glycine does something entirely different and clinically remarkable. Researchers at the Tokyo Institute of Technology demonstrated that glycine supplementation before bed produced a measurable and significant increase in the amount of slow-wave sleep participants achieved during the night. The mechanism involves glycine's direct action on neurons in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, your brain's internal clock, where it actively lowers core body temperature during sleep by promoting blood vessel dilation at the body's surface. This precise temperature drop is the single most powerful neurological signal that forces your brain to shift into the architecture of deep sleep rather than remaining in the shallow stages. A second study from the same research group showed that subjects taking glycine before bed scored significantly better on next-day cognitive function tests and reported dramatically reduced daytime sleepiness despite spending the same total hours in bed. Purchase pure unflavored glycine powder from any reputable supplement supplier. Measure exactly 3 grams, which is approximately 3/4 of a teaspoon, and stir it completely into a small glass of warm water or directly into your magnesium tea. Glycine has a naturally mild, sweet flavor that makes it genuinely pleasant to drink, which is unusual for a functional supplement powder. Take this mixture 30 minutes before your intended sleep time. Do not adjust your schedule or your bedroom. Simply add this to what you already do. Within 3 nights, most older adults report a qualitative shift in the texture of their sleep, describing it as heavier, darker, and more complete than it has felt in years. But wait until you hear number 1, because it is the single most overlooked biological reason why seniors cannot stay asleep past 3 in the morning, no matter what else they try. Number 1, the blood sugar anchor, raw organic honey. Every single grandmother in every single farmhouse kitchen across mid-century rural America kept a jar of raw honey on the bedside table or dissolved a small spoonful into warm milk before climbing into bed. This was not a sweet indulgence. It was considered a practical necessity for ensuring a full, undisturbed night of rest. Physicians of that era wrote about honey's sleep properties in general practice manuals with the same matter-of-fact confidence they used to describe the benefits of fresh air and early rising. The knowledge was eventually buried under the avalanche of pharmaceutical advertising that followed the post-war economic boom. Modern neuroscience has now excavated exactly why this ancient practice was so physiologically precise for the aging brain. Here is the hidden mechanism that explains why millions of older adults wake suddenly and completely between 2 and 4 every single morning with no apparent cause. During sleep, your brain continues consuming glucose as fuel even, though you have not eaten in several hours. In younger adults, the liver maintains robust glycogen stores and releases glucose steadily throughout the night to keep the brain supplied. After 60, your liver's glycogen storage capacity declines significantly, and your body's ability to regulate overnight blood glucose becomes considerably less stable. When your sleeping brain detects that fuel supply is dropping, it triggers an emergency cortisol and adrenaline surge to force the liver to release emergency glucose. This hormonal alarm is what jolts you awake at 3 in the morning with a pounding heart and a racing mind. You were not woken by stress or anxiety. You were woken by your brain activating its biological emergency fuel protocol. A small amount of raw honey consumed directly before sleep accomplishes something that no sleeping pill on earth can replicate. It provides your liver with a specific combination of fructose and glucose that replenishes hepatic glycogen stores at precisely the rate needed to sustain slow and steady overnight brain fuel delivery. Researcher and sleep scientist Mike McInnes spent over a decade documenting this exact mechanism and presented findings showing that this specific pre-sleep glycogen loading strategy directly suppresses the nocturnal cortisol and adrenaline surges responsible for middle-of-the-night awakening in older adults. Raw honey also contains small but meaningful amounts of naturally occurring tryptophan, alongside trace minerals that support the enzymatic conversion of tryptophan into serotonin and ultimately into melatonin. You are not just preventing a blood sugar crash. You are actively feeding the biochemical pathway that produces your own natural sleep hormone. Purchase only raw, unfiltered honey from a local farmer's market or a trusted natural grocer. Processed commercial honey has been heated to the point where its enzymatic activity is completely destroyed, which eliminates the specific fructose configuration responsible for the controlled overnight glycogen release. Take exactly 1 full teaspoon of raw honey and place it directly under your tongue 30 minutes before bed, allowing it to absorb sublingually for maximum and most immediate uptake into your circulation. Alternatively, stir it into your warm magnesium glycinate tea to combine the sleep benefits of both remedies into a single soothing bedtime drink. The cost is approximately 5 cents per teaspoon at bulk rates from a local supplier. You will find that the abrupt 3 a.m. awakening that has plagued you for years begins to soften and then disappear entirely within the first week of consistent use. The solution to broken senior sleep was never a white pharmaceutical tablet. It was sitting in your grandmother's kitchen the entire time, hiding inside a Tart cherry bottle, a honey jar, a magnesium tin, and a bag of sweet white powder. Your aging brain is not broken. It is depleted. It is running on an empty biological fuel tank in a nervous system that has lost its natural chemical anchors. Tart cherry concentrate rebuilds the melatonin your shrinking pineal gland can no longer produce. Magnesium glycinate silences the elevated cortisol that keeps your nervous system perpetually on alert. Glycine powder physically architects the deep, slow-wave sleep your brain has been starving for, and raw honey anchors your blood sugar through the night, so your brain never sounds its 3 a.m. emergency alarm. You have the absolute power to reclaim the deep, dark, complete sleep that your body was designed to experience every single night of your life. You do not need a prescription. You do not need a sleep clinic. You do not need to spend $40 a month on a melatonin gummy that only addresses one tiny fraction of your broken sleep biology. Real restoration costs less than $0.25 per night, and it has been available to you all along. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these 4 bedtime remedies are you going to try tonight? Have you ever used any of these ingredients before without realizing why they were helping your sleep? Share your personal experiences in the comments below, because we genuinely love reading every single one. Sleep deeply, wake strong, and we will see you in the next video.